Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Nerd Soup Podcast. I'm your host, Anthony J.Q. Nash, still doing my Beau Oliver voice. So instead of doing a regular weekly podcast where we talk about stories and news, on this podcast, as you can see from the title, we will be reviewing The Bear, Season 2, which a lot of people seem to be enjoying, so we figured we'd take the time to dive into a spoiler discussion of The Bear Season 2. It's a season that Beau and Aaron both enjoyed. They actually had the opportunity to watch it early, so we're going to plug that review in that they've previously recorded. And I also want to let you guys know that we won't be posting for a couple of weeks. We will probably be back for Barbie versus Oppenheimer. That's actually going to be when we do return with our podcasts. So just a quick little hiatus. You guys are probably used to us doing that by now, so just wanted to give everybody the heads up. And hope you like, share, subscribe, do all that stuff, the promo stuff that they tell me to remind you guys about. And I hope you enjoy this review of The Bear Season 2. So, The Bear, I almost said The Boys, but The Bear Season 2, I would say this was highly anticipated after the success of Season 1. I remember one critic said he felt like it was the first piece of media to be influenced by Uncut Gems, where you can see the influences, a high octane, people screaming and yelling and arguing, and there's so much tension. There was also a lot of heart in that first season about people dealing with their trauma, about these characters learning how to grieve as well after they lost such a big personality in their lives. But I thought what was genius about this Season 2 is that they took the concept of running a restaurant and all the stresses and the tension that goes into it, and they blew it up into a full season, race against the clock, trying to reach this deadline so that they can reopen the beef as the Bear. So it still had a lot of tension and a lot of stress chasing that deadline, but it also gave the show more time to breathe and develop its characters. I enjoyed all of the episodes where it was one character off doing their own thing, trying to learn something new about cuisine and also learn something about themselves in the process. So I thought the development for all of the characters, everyone just got better. Everyone has a bit more layers, bit more depth, and it's really added to the camaraderie and chemistry of the cast, where they're fighting these individual battles so that eventually they can all come together and be a team running this restaurant. And, it's not only about them learning about cuisine, but also for us, right? I think we can learn a thing or two about making some good food when watching this show.
You need all the help you can get. I saw that sorry-ass omelet you showed me.
That was not a sorry. Don't put that on the podcast. It had tomatoes, it had melted cheese in it.
You gotta do. She taught you what to do. The potato chips.
I didn't have potato chips. What the hell? You want me to go out and buy potato chips just to mimic the omelet to win an argument with you?
Yes.
I'm not a psychopath.
Well,
but like I said, it does a great job of balancing the actual writing and the character development stuff, but also giving us some great food porn. Some of the sequences with the food, just you can't watch this on an empty stomach.
I should have learned my mistake from last season, because I remember watching last season, I'm like, oh my god, I'm so hungry. Like, I need to eat before or during watching the show. And once I forgot to do that, like once the show starts, I'm like on DoorDash, just trying to get everything. I want to get like the sandwich. How do I get that sandwich? There were no sandwich.
The beef sandwich
from last
right?
season.
Yeah.
Oh my god,
looks like
so
a good. Just get a Cuban sandwich.
I actually the other night I when I got Wendy's from the drive-thru, I said thank you, chef.
Did they get the reference?
No.
That would have been funny if they did.
But yeah,
and you guys fell in love.
I mean, free Wendy's, right?
I don't know if they do that for spouses.
Position. Yeah.
Okay.
I wouldn't want to, separate.
Yeah, I don't know if it's like the airlines or something like that.
But yeah, I love this show, man. I mean, remember when you I think you told me to watch last season, and I don't know what I was really expecting, but it was one of the easiest binges of my life. And same here. I think I finished this, I started watching it in the evening one day and finished it the next day during the day. Like, I just didn't want to stop. And like you said, to frame this type of story within that world, to be honest, I have no interest in cooking. I'm not very good at cooking. I like to eat a lot, but seeing the process, working as someone who worked in a kitchen, there was a little bit of that stress, but I was like a college kid at some whatever restaurant. At that high level with perfectionists, you don't realize just how stressful that is. And I think they were able to really mimic that very well and put you basically in the kitchen. And like you said, taking some episodes and the time to spend on some of these supporting characters really opened it up a lot, where you're genuinely invested in every single character working in this. And that's why you want, like, when they're trying to reach the deadline, like, you feel like you're on the team, like, you're on board. It's like, oh, we got to do this, guys. Come on, let's get this done. Come on, chef. Let's get it open for opening day. Like, you want these characters to succeed so bad. And anytime a show does that and gets you hooked, I mean, it's always going to make it that much better because you feel like you have a personal investment in these fictional characters.
Definitely. And the characters are so well written across the board. Shout out to my boy Lionel Boyce. We were introduced to him because of
Jones, baby.
Catchphrase Jones, man. Maybe this is what's going to be the role that breaks him out, and then we get that Hollywood green light for big budgeted Catchphrase Jones.
I mean, he's just like, if pick a character you just want to have everything good in the world happen to, I think it's him.
Oh yeah, dude, he's very lovable, and I think he brings a genuine curiosity and appreciation for the cuisine, for learning how to cook, to being under the tutelage of Carmy and Sid. It was interesting the way that they played with their dynamic between Marcus and Sid in this season. We'll touch on that, but yeah, his episode when he does go over to Copenhagen and trains under Will Poulter, and then you hear the story about how Will Poulter realized he was matched up against this other chef. He thought they were in competition, but this guy was just so much better. That was Carmy, right? They're talking about?
I think so. I think they might have alluded to that, especially with the picture that Richie sees in the restaurant that he's working at, and it's Carmy and Will Poulter.
Right. Yeah, so I really enjoyed that with Marcus, where he gets to go off on his own and, like I said, learn a little bit more about cooking, but also about himself. You know, he has to prove to himself that he can do this, and that's sort of a reoccurring theme throughout this season for all the individual characters, grappling the personal with the professional, trying to figure out a way to do both, figuring out if they are capable of doing both. You know, when it came to Marcus's character in particular, it's about him having to watch over his mother, who has fallen ill. So it just goes to show that you only need a few scenes of him sitting by her hospital bed, holding her hand, to just to drive that point home that he's a good dude. But this is something that's been weighing on him. So it's not as easy as just, you know, going off and having this amazing experience. Your mind is also going to be back home thinking about the personal. So like I said, all these characters trying to figure out a way to find that balance. And I like that he's got the natural skill of a baker. So Carmy sees that potential and puts him in good hands. Just jumping around here because there were so many good individual episodes, like the one where Sid is testing her palate and she's testing out all those different foods. That food porn was incredible. But my favorite episode, a lot of people have been saying episode 6, that may be the best episode, but I thought episode 7 was great, dude.
No, that was, I think Richie is probably my favorite character. I think he's the most relatable character for a lot of people. As like stress-inducing and like technical and the technical aspects of episode 6 and how that was able to all mesh together into this one chaotic kind of family drama that gives you, because sometimes flashback episodes don't really land, but I think this one actually added so much to the story. I think it was perfectly placed within the confines of this season. But Richie, a character that I think is one of the staples of the show and someone who you do kind of see grow a lot, to have him, I think his episode where they focus on him was probably the best.
Yeah, because you're not sure. I'm like, damn, did I paused it and I was like, am I on episode 9 or something? Was there a time skip where they actually made this successful restaurant? But
and I think for him, like, the stakes for him I think are much larger than the other characters, even though it's like technically not his restaurant. Like when you look at other characters like Carmy, like Sid, like, yes, you want them to succeed, but you feel like they have, you know, they have skills, they have something that put together where if this doesn't work out, you kind of think that they can probably go off and be great at something else. But Richie, from the opening episode, like, he doesn't know where he belongs. He's lost. He has no purpose. You know, at least with, you know, Sid and Carmy have cooking. Marcus has his baking. He has nothing. So you really want it to work out for him. And when it all clicks for him and he embraces this environment, I think that was just so great to see. And blasting Taylor Swift on the way home, perfect cap for that whole arc there.
Yeah, he's sort of looking at what they want to do and realizing he doesn't fit in, or he believes that at first, that there's no place for him here. That's why some of those scenes in the flashback episode, like when he's asking Cicero for a job and saying, I don't want to be a line cook for the rest of my life. And you look at season 1, episode 1, that's what he's doing. He's still working at this shitty-ass restaurant. That's why the growth has been incredible, because he is so annoying, even though he is relatable in season 1, but he's a frustrating character because he's so explosive and you've really got to reel him in. So when he does have that epiphany of, I need to grow up, but I'm also capable of this. I do have the people skills. I can lead people. I don't have to be this rogue agent all the time. I don't have to be this dog off the leash. Part of that is what makes him so great at what he does, but you do need to settle down and start wearing the suits, right? It's Deion Sanders. You look good, play good.
Yeah.
So that was fun, and I love the way that they all received him after that episode, where everyone was proud of him. Nobody made fun of him for wearing the suits. Everybody complimented him for looking good. So when he does step up in the finale, that was great. But in that dream sequence, when he's like, I see the pattern. It was like Neo in the Matrix waking up. And all of his imaginary friends were so happy for him. And I really enjoyed that cast of characters too, even though they were only there for one episode.
Yeah.
No, but he's come such a long way. That's why that scene between him and Carmen at the end is heartbreaking. When Carmen says, you're fucking obsessed with my family. Richie was an only kid. He never had any family. So as fucked up as they are, those people were what he considered to be family, and he loves them. That's why, they really start hurting each other there at the end, and he tries to break it off by saying, I love you. I love you. Mm-hmm. Like, can you stop hurting me? We've gone too far, please.
Yeah.
So everything with that character, I think he's definitely the best character in the show. And to have an ensemble where all the characters, you can pick out your favorites, but still have that emotional core that is Carmy, he is such a great center for this show, because it all does revolve around him and what he's trying to do, trying to build up this restaurant that his brother left to him after he committed suicide. So it's extremely personal for him, because he thinks that he can't have his cake and eat it too, that he needs to dedicate all of himself to this restaurant, to this work. And a lot of people who are in this business will tell you, yeah, that's what it entails. But I think you can argue, and this is what Richie was arguing, that there is room in Carmen's life for happiness. Maybe he's just afraid of that intimacy.
Yeah.
Because of how things could go wrong. Because he's got issues, man. They're all handling shit when he got trapped in the fridge, which was genius. And for him, everything's crumbling. But on the outside, they held their shit together.
Yeah, they don't need him.
Yeah, you suck. No, but it shows like he did do a good job. And he still can't see that.
Right.
That's why it's heartbreaking.
Yeah, it's hard to, I guess, for him to really see his successes or how far everything's come. I think being in that high-stress environment, it's kind of hard to take yourself out of it for a second and realize, like, hey, win or lose, like, we did something here. You always just want to be the best, and we've seen from the flashbacks with the Joel McHale character, which I love when
so
he pops up
fucking
at the
slow.
end. It's like that environment, like, you're basically trained or brainwashed like for perfection, and I was kind of happy Will Poulter, because at first I thought he was gonna be a huge dick, and when he ended up being nice, I'm like, oh, thank God.
He's just honest. He's a good mentor.
But seeing Carmy like have that relationship with Claire, like you said, would someone like that ever be able to have a normal functioning relationship with somebody else? And you see the hesitations he had when he's kind of opening up in the freezer, in the fridge, not knowing that she's listening. That's another funny aspect of it. Like, have you seen Twitter online? Like, Claire's a very divisive character. People like hate her.
I don't.
And like, I wasn't the hugest Claire fan. I just don't think like they had that much chemistry together as two characters.
Right. Yeah. That's something that, because there was so much good happening, when people brought that to my attention, that she's not the best written character, there's not a lot of depth there. They're trying to mirror Carmy in that she's wired the same way, where she thrives in chaotic situations so they can bond over that. But the chemistry wasn't great.
Yeah,
it wasn't like bursting off the screen.
Delved more into like her job as a fucking emergency doctor. Like, that's probably
could have given us a scene or two.
It's hard to compare that to being a chef, but they even talk about like it's just as fucking chaotic, and you have to be just as much a perfectionist. And I guess she really handles it better because it doesn't really take over her personality when we do see them together. But it is funny, like at sometimes when you're watching them together, and you're like seeing Carmy finally have like some sense of normalcy. Probably the first time he's had, when we saw his upbringing, maybe in his life. And you're like, no, fuck her. Go back and be stressed in the kitchen. What are you doing, Carmi? Be miserable. It's like,
Right.
no, let him actually enjoy life. But it is so stressful that you're watching and you want this group to succeed and the restaurant too. Like when he misses that call or he's doing something that's away from the restaurant, you're kind of like, what the, come on, let's get, we have 2 weeks, Carmi, what are you doing?
He's got a lot of Kendall Roy in him. And I think even the way that he approaches the character, where there's so much sadness and melancholy, and we see what's caused that because he's gone through a lot, the family trauma, the issues with his mother, losing his brother. But he just can't accept anything good in his life. And when one thing goes wrong, it's like 20 things went wrong. That's why I really appreciated the, I think that maybe it's not romantic chemistry, but Carmi and Sid have a lot of chemistry between them. And it does feel platonic in a sense of we're both about this life. So we understand what it takes and what it takes out of us. So when they go back and forth with a little chest rubbing, those moments always, they made me smile because it's an opportunity for them to just breathe and for him to acknowledge, yeah, I'm a little out of control right now. I do need to take it down. But those are the stresses of being, trying to be a Michelin star restaurant, the expectations that come with it. You do have to be wired that way. You have to be in love with that life. That's why when Richie says this shit is fun for you, I don't know where I fit in, and Carmi's like, I don't know if it's fun, but it's not like he's got a smile on his face and he's laughing about it, but he probably never feels more alive than when he's in that kitchen. And it's an opportunity for him to take control of his life. He's had so many chaotic presences in his life, so many wild cards that were uncontrollable. And in the kitchen, as chaotic and as messy as it gets, at the end of the day, he's the one leading the ship. He's the one with the responsibility to make sure that everything goes okay. And he puts that responsibility on himself because, as you mentioned, he is a perfectionist. So when one thing goes wrong, the whole world can come crashing down. As I said, I think it is a form of him taking control of his life when he's in this situation, when he's in the kitchen. And it's in contrast to his mother, who felt like she was doing all these things, preparing the Christmas dinner and never receiving anything in return. So she was looking for that love that Carmen is running away from. So I thought that was interesting, the way that they both, they both find themselves in similar situations, but are working those situations towards different ends, or the hope of a different end. And that scene between them when they're just talking one-on-one, it is very unsettling and also very sad how dark it does get between them, and especially Jamie Lee Curtis's performance, and we'll touch on that a little bit later. But as I said, she just wants people to show her the love that she feels she's expressing through everything she does for them, and Carmi just wants to become, the best possible chef he could be.
Do you think there are actually restaurants like the one Richie was helping out at?
Yeah.
I know,
No, that pretentious and that friendly?
Or we do research on our customers and we'll get you a deep dish pizza because they overheard you saying that you never got a deep dish in Chicago. To that extreme?
I don't know about that extreme, but I know those Michelin star restaurants are no joke.
Oh no, I looked them up.
Yeah.
I'm like, how do I do this?
They've got minimums.
Very expensive.
Yeah, no, I looked one up that had like a $350 minimum.
Yeah, but it's like a tasting menu where they give you like 10 courses. I'm like, honestly,
maybe once.
But it's not like insane, like, oh, $5,000. It's like very expensive, but like it's feasible.
I would want to go to one though that imagine you go to the worst one.
Well, one of them was like,
or it's the menu,
just a bunch of fishes and stuff. I'm like, I want kind of like hamburgers and stuff. But if it's like hopefully a fixed tasting menu, I'm like, what if I don't like half of it? I don't have a refined palate. I can't appreciate the things that other people.
You had to call your bank, dispute that charge.
Hell yeah.
That wasn't me. I don't live in Chicago. The fuck.
Or just tweet leading up to it, being like, oh my god, it's my life savings on this restaurant. Hopefully they do the research thing and comp it.
Yeah. Like, sir, we've done some research and showing that you have negative $17 in your bank account. Now you have negative $387.
Yeah, I mean that was a great episode. I just want I was just wondering if it did go that far into it because they were on there. They were on that shit. Especially what do they call? What was the lady? Who was the woman who was like reading off the board? That Richie was like, that's got to be fucking stressful. You're like an auctioneer, but with food.
Right, but she was cruising. That's why it was so funny when he was like, I see the pattern. And in the finale, when he takes on that responsibility after Carmi gets locked up, and he goes, I'm going to need to turn this desk around. Sid was able to do it looking out, but Richie's got to look at you. Little small differences in their styles of leadership. But they came a long way, too, where Sid was able to trust Richie to do that sort of thing. In season 1, I know it was unintentional, but she did literally stab him.
Yeah.
So they had a lot of tension between them, but he's got that conversation with Sid's father where he talks about how much they value her. And she really is. Carmi's the heart of the show, but she's the heart of that group for them.
Sure.
And I look at Carmi, Sid, and Richie as Kirk, Spock, and Bones from Star Trek. It really is incredible how it's almost like modeled after Star Trek, where it's like they're all part of the same fleet. They've all got their positions. You got the captain and the first mate and the medical doctor. Those are literally, and the personalities fit for those first three that I did mention.
Well,
but Sid, a lot of people have called the actress Io Edeberry the quintessential millennial, or the face of the millennial generation. And she does have that can-do millennial energy to her.
Yeah.
Not saying that every millennial's like that, but the things that she stresses over and the insecurities, but also the confidence that she has, the way she balances both of those things, because she is very unsure about herself, but she's also sure about so many other things that people should be doing. And I like that she doesn't always get it right, but she is a good leader, and she's not afraid to put her foot down, and she can argue with the boys. She's got some of the best comebacks and some of the best bewildered faces for the things that she sees and has to respond to. So everything about her character I loved in season 1, just thought it was better in season 2.
Yeah, and that's why it seems like they almost set up Claire to fail. Because a lot of the times during their relationship, especially like in the beginning, it causes Carmi to not be as present with things going on in the restaurant, and that being right at odds with Sid, because like she feels like Carmi's not present and putting in as much as she is, or not really treating it as life or death as she is, and that kind of causes a bit of a rift between them, where you see her kind of doubt whether or not are they really partners in this. Is he on board? It's just as much as risk for him as it is me.
Yeah, I was really hoping, because a lot of people seem to be shipping Carmi and Sid. Like I said, I don't think that's a thing, but I was hoping they didn't go the route of not necessarily a love triangle, but a rivalry between Sid and what's her name again?
Claire.
I can't even remember her name. Yeah, the more I think about it, I'm like, yeah, she's just kind of there. She's supposed to be a
lot of Sid's,
like a plot device.
What animosity was towards Carmi, not she's like, oh, I like Claire. She's
right.
Very
I
nice.
was really hoping they didn't go in that direction, because even when she first got there, when they were arguing about the mold that they found, and Claire sort of interrupts, I thought that they were going to do a thing like Sydney saying, you shouldn't be here. I was like, oh God, please don't go in this direction. But no, they're too smart for that. The creator, Christopher Storer, who pretty much directed every episode except for I think 2.
Well, I think Rami Youssef do 4.
Yeah, he did episode 4. Joanna Kalo did 3 and 5, but he did the rest.
But as an audience member, you're seeing them like have a bit of a strife, and you're like, fuck you, come on, Carmi, pick. It's either Claire or the gang, and I like the gang.
Yeah, and I do wonder, like, in season 1, a lot of the arguments were just about the kitchen. So they made things a bit more personal now. So with Sid and Carmi, it was about, where's your focus? Because we need you here. But I think Sid does learn some valuable lessons about herself, that she doesn't need Carmi for everything, that she can lead the kitchen, that she can make some of these bigger choices. And they still have some trust issues between them, because they're always going behind each other's backs. It's like, well, this happened, why didn't you call me? Well, I forgot. And I guess it's a fast-moving business, so those are the struggles you're going to have. But just even complimenting that, because I've heard from so many people who have worked in the restaurant business, and one of my friends owns a restaurant, 2 restaurants in Queens, and I'm like, dude, you never relax. He like 16, 18-hour days all week, all the time.
Yeah.
But he's just wired that way. He's built for it. He never looks like he's out of energy. He's always in a good mood, always smiling. I've heard from a lot of people that they capture the real authentic experience of working in a kitchen, even when it is a smaller restaurant like you saw in season 1, or if you're trying to do something a bit more fancy going into season 2. But it still felt very much the same. It's the same sort of process, right? And they did put their foot on the brake when it came to, it felt like in every episode in season 1, it was the end of the world. Like they all hands on deck. Those moments were a bit more like when you get to the finale, you like, something's going to go fucking wrong. So him being locked in the fridge, I just kept laughing. I was like, this motherfucker's having a temper tantrum. He keeps kicking the door. So good. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'd be interested to hear, people's thoughts in the comment section if it's as real as everybody's been saying it is. It certainly feels real to me.
That's all that matters.
Well, I have to remind myself sometimes watching the show, like, it's fake. Like, there's no stakes.
Yeah.
They're all fine. They're all rich actors. Well, some of them. The writers are broke, so it sucks for them. You really just have to, like, check yourself, dude. And that's why episode 6 was, it's genius. It's
no,
the
that
mother.
gave me, like, so much fucking anxiety because it's, I don't know about you, but I've had, like, family gatherings where it's just non-fucking stop, people talking, and it's so goddamn stressful. And it really shouldn't be, but it just is, because just all the different personalities and dynamics and yelling over and talking over each other. When we eat, it's just so much. And I was, like, literally wanted to die watching that.
My mom watching that episode was literally the meme from Euphoria. Like, is this about me? Because she even admitted it. She was like, is that what you guys deal with? And they had the conversation like, Carmi, you got to watch Mom. And then, of course,
and
who
his sister
on this show is friends with all these celebrities?
And she kept asking, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "Please stop."
Yeah, no, it's the worst thing you could do. But you know what? Her character, I need to rewatch season 1 because I don't really remember much of her in season 1.
She really wasn't that prominent.
Wasn't that as prominent, right?
No.
But they gave her a really. I thought her increased role in season 2 was welcomed.
Yeah, no, I
because
think
she brought a lot of humanity to the story. The grown-up perspective on things, trying to captain the ship when some of these other players were a bit off the leash.
Well, I called her mom, and I think that she kind of fit that role within the group, like being just the mom responsible.
That was funny when he was like, "You ratted on me to Mom."
Yeah. Or even when they're talking about the Jewish lightning and trying to burn the building down. They used to call me that in high school too.
There's no way they used to call you that.
Yeah.
Did they?
Yeah.
That's funny.
No, they didn't. But like, for a second, I thought like, hey, they might actually consider, because they're just down on money. They might just put the place up.
Dude, but her facial expressions,
if it was just like Richie, like, and maybe even Carmi to an extent, they had to roam free, like maybe that would have happened. But like under her watch, everything seemed like there's an actual adult in the room.
Right. Yeah, her name is Abby Elliott, the actress, but when she was delivered bad news, or all throughout that episode 6, the look of sadness on her face was so depressing. She was just so exhausted. But then she brought that same exhaustion to a lot of the other episodes, just dealing with this crazy group. And when she finally gets to take a break there and eat that omelet, which looked incredible, it's deserved, because like you said, she was the grown-up of the group. And that seems to be a role that's like stereotypical for a woman to have, where it's like the women don't get to have as much fun. But she's not the only woman in the cast, so I don't think that criticism really applies, because even a character like Tina, where I wasn't expecting much out of her in this season, because she was a good supporting character in season 1. She's funny. She doesn't play along with the whole chef. She has to call him Jeff. A little sardonic, sarcastic. So many characters in this show just remind me of family members or friends that are close to the family. But then her becoming the Seuss, right? Yeah. She gets an increased role, more responsibility. Her and Sid butt heads in season 1, but now she's saying, hey, I need you. I need you to be not my sidekick, but my partner.
Well, that's what I like too. Like, they didn't replace anybody. They made them better. They could have easily got rid of her or Fack. Like, well, we don't need you around. It's like, no, he's part of the crew. He's been here since day one. We're going to give him a bigger role, And they do that for
that's kind of awesome. I love that.
Pretty much everybody. And there is a wholesomeness to the show where I think at times it could be a little
melodramatic.
Yeah, or sitcom-y in a way. Like, like in Parks and Rec,
when they have to learn a lesson.
It's very wholesome and it's fun and it's a great show, but like at times you're like, yeah. It's like everything kind of is all honky-dory.
I thought season 1 did that more than season 2.
Yeah.
With the moments in season 2, they easier pill to swallow. Sometimes in season 1, I'm like, yo, this is just like too sappy for me right now. But in season 2, I thought it was handled much better. Like Carmen's whole, the convenience, not the inconvenience of Claire walking into the kitchen and he doesn't realize that he's talking to her. It's like, okay, but that moment was just so heartbreaking for Claire that I didn't mind it. And getting that, insight into where Carmen's head is actually at it's important for his character and understanding his character further. But that to me was teetering on sappy, but I don't think it ever crossed that line like it does sometimes in season 1.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's a minor thing because
it's very minor, very minor.
I do think at the end of the day, like when they really need to have these intense moments, like you're still on board of everything. Because More when it comes to personal relationships, you kind of get that aspect to it, but when it's coming to when they focus more on, things like making sure everything's going well, the restaurant gets up on time, are they going to really nail it when they finally open it up? I think I'm still on the edge of my seat when that happens, because you do think like at any moment like something could go wrong.
You know, it was a great moment for Carmi's confidence when he's talking to Claire and he says, "I didn't think you'd remember me," and she goes, "Of course I remember you. You're the bear." That was like his Han Solo moment, right? Yeah, I am the fucking bear. Let's fucking do this, man. So it was nice to see Carmi with his hair down, enjoying those sweet moments.
Yeah.
But, dude, I think that... See, when episode 6 started, I don't like flashback episodes, and I didn't like it for this show in particular because I like Mike's presence, the way that his legacy hangs over everything is so palpable, and it feels so real that you don't really... For me personally, I don't want any more... I don't want to see him alive because it just... Right, yeah, it sounds dark. But because the way I was introduced, it's almost like Sid coming into this. Like, Sid's never going to know what these characters truly had with Mike because she just wasn't there. And I feel like that's similar with the audience. And it reflects real life. Like, when you come into somebody's life and there was a really dominant personality that's no longer there and you're trying to grapple with why did they like him so much? Well, why is this so messy and complicated? But he may have given, John Bernthal as Mike may have given the best performance of the season in that episode 6. Well, so by the end of it, I was like, this was an incredible hour of television.
No, I think it adds to it because when people die, right, you always, if we didn't get to see these flashbacks of Mike, we're only going to know who he is through the way people tell us about. And what Richie says with Carmi, everyone, he's the best. He's Mike. Oh my God, everyone knows Mike. Everyone loves Mike. But like when episodes like this, you realize Mike isn't all like, he's not what people make him out to be. He's flawed. He has his own problems. Especially with the way Bob Odenkirk's the harsh truth, but probably very truthful in a lot of ways. Like he is a flawed person, and everything really didn't work out for him, and there was a lot of problems with Mike. And I think it just adds different layers to it of how Carmi views his position and how he viewed his brother. Like you said with his sister, how she had to step up probably because they really didn't have a functioning family unit, and she felt like maybe that's her role that she has to step up in. And you kind of see that translate over into the way she handles the restaurant and the crew.
It's funny because in season 1, when they would talk about Mikey, in my head, I swear to God, I was like, I keep seeing John Bernthal. I was like, I feel like John Bernthal would have been great casting for this.
He does love cameos.
And then when he showed up at the end of season 1, I was like, it wasn't even like a surprise. But yeah, they touch on some of the messiness. Like when Marcus is asked about Mikey and he goes, he was the best. He was also out of his fucking mind.
Yeah.
But that's why it was so hard to watch. Like when Carmen gifts him that drawing and he breaks down because you know what's coming for this character, that eventually it did all get to him. All of his flaws, all the messiness, the fuck ups, the irresponsibilities, it just became too much and he couldn't handle it anymore. But I know people like that, and I'm sure many people out there do. The person that is so fun to be around and you hate them when they're not around because that's when they're getting in trouble. When you're with them, you love them because it's that infectious personality, you know, the stories that they've heard millions of times. Everybody in that room was fine with those stories except for Bob Odenkirk because it's Mikey and he's doing the classic Christmas stories, right? That's what you do with family. But it looks like they may have had some financial issues there. You know, there may be some. And Bob Odenkirk, I think he was the perfect casting for that type of, you know, the uncle that's going to...
Well, I think all the cameos worked well. Sometimes it could be a little like, you know,
Jamie
Bob
Lee Curtis.
Odenkirk.
I knew Bob Odenkirk because of Twitter, but Jamie Lee, I was like, what the fuck? That was a shock.
I think she's in a picture, like earlier in the season.
Oh, okay. That's cool.
Like John Mulaney, like Sarah Paulson.
Oh, yeah. Totally forgot John Mulaney.
I love John Mulaney's character was so funny because he was just...
The back and forth with Fak,
because he was just being John Mulaney, and like that's like a stand-up.
No, he's 100% just being John Mulaney.
I'm going to give you the money because this is hilarious, and I want you to call me every month with updates.
I kept closing my eyes and just picturing the pig.
And then Olivia Colman. But they all fit there. Well, obviously Will Poulter too.
But who put this together? Because you know somebody on that in the production crew is like connected, dude. Because who's making all these like?
They made some calls.
No, it really could be as easy as like somebody like a really good makeup artist that just became really friendly. Yeah, FX.
Sarah Paulson, like I think, is a big FX person.
Is she? Is that American Horror Story?
Yeah.
Okay.
And the OJ's trial shows and stuff like that.
Yeah, because Sarah Paulson and Mulaney, I was like, what the fuck?
Mulaney, I don't know, maybe some like comedy writers and stuff.
No, it didn't feel out of place whatsoever. They all fit in perfectly. It must be weird for the cast too. Jeremy Allen White, he's had success, with Shameless, but some of these, fresher faces getting the opportunity to act with Jamie Lee Curtis, even a guy like John Bernthal, he's been in some big stuff.
I thought about that, not in this, but in Asteroid City. I was just like, Jason Schwartzman and Tom Hanks. That's neat.
Yeah, it's something you don't really see every day.
Yeah.
I think Bill Murray's on the verge of being canceled. That's why we got that.
Yeah, speaking of Jamie Lee Curtis, I mean, obviously she's been around for forever and she's very talented. I was, and I think you were too, were shocked about that Oscar win.
I wasn't as shocked.
I was.
Well, I also wasn't as upset by it for other people.
But she was fucking fantastic.
Yeah.
She was she should get the
the Oscar was for the bear. She
gets the Oscar, but it's for the bear.
It's for the bear.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, her performance, similar with John Bernthal, it was heartbreaking, especially when she does show up to the restaurant there at the end, because she wants to be there for her kids. She feels like she's not ready to actually be there in person. She summons up all those bad memories, and the ending of episode 6 was fucking crazy. It's something like in a throwaway line for Carmy to say, yeah, my mom drove her car through the house on Christmas. It's like, oh, classic Carmy's family. But to actually see it, it's like, whoa.
No,
this is crazy.
It was absolutely insane.
It's tough to write that convincingly, that somebody would break down to the point of driving their car through the house, but when you see what she goes through from the beginning of that episode to the end, and when she goes, do I not look okay? And Sarah Paulson's like, no. She was...
It was very funny when Sugar's husband brings in the 8th fish.
Carmy was so pissed.
They all were fucking pissed.
Yeah, no, they were all so pissed, dude. Good dude, though.
Yeah, I always feel bad for him. Because he's just a generally, just good dude.
What's his name, Pete? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was sad for him, too, when he was trying to get her to come in, and she's just not ready for it. So, you're seeing where a lot of, I don't want to say that it's because of Carmen's mom that he's like that, but growing up in that environment, being surrounded by that for so long, he says, this is why I didn't want to come home for the families. It's fucked him up, but it's also made him accustomed to that type of environment where he's like a wounded dog that always goes back home. Maybe it's not Christmas dinner, but it's in the kitchen of this new restaurant you're trying to build where it's a similar atmosphere. Maybe it's a bit more friendly, but in many ways it's the same thing, and that's the genius of the show, right? It's about cooking and working at a restaurant, and that episode 6, it's obviously not a restaurant, but it's the same exact vibe.
Right.
Of somebody just trying to balance all these meals and trying to do the best job they can, not because they're going to be rewarded for it financially, but hopefully emotionally. And she doesn't feel like she's even receiving, that they're not reciprocating. So that's why I'm sure many parents watch that episode with a lot of sympathy for Jamie Lee Curtis's character. And I think also the children, because there's nothing more difficult than loving someone but not knowing how to help them, because that was Carmy's job from the beginning of the episode. He says, I've got mom. I'm going to make sure that she's okay. And he fails at that. And the exchange that they have in private, as I said earlier, it is so unsettling to the point of being afraid of Jamie Lee Curtis's character in that moment. And you're nervous for Carmy. What is she going to do? How bad is it, what she's dealing with? As I said, there's a lot of empathy that you feel towards that character, and I think a lot of parents who have been in similar situations that feel like they do so much for people that it's not that they don't necessarily appreciate them, but maybe we take them for granted. And I imagine there were a lot of kids who also got PTSD from watching this episode who've had to deal with, parents or family members.
How famous do you have to be considered a cameo?
These days, it feels like everything's a cameo if you're just even
was
mildly
Julian Jacobs,
famous.
Is that a cameo or is that just a part?
Who's Julian Jacobs again?
Richie's wife. She was in Community.
Yeah, I guess so. Maybe there's levels to it, because for me, that's not a cameo. I've never seen Community.
For me, it was a cameo.
Yeah. Oh my God, it's another fucking cameo. Yeah, I guess there are levels to it.
Like Olivia Colman, that's a cameo.
Olivia Colman's a cameo.
Yeah.
Talk about. You can even say Will Poulter's not a cameo.
Interesting.
Because, I think a lot of people see Will Poulter and they go, oh, I kind of recognize him. But it's like you see Jamie Lee Curtis, there's no mistaking who the fuck that is, But they're back and forth, dude, with the fork. Oh, so tense, dude. I wanted to turn it off. I'm like, I can't watch this. Yeah, dude.
Because you knew he was going to throw the fork.
Oh, yeah, of course. Well, he fucked up when he everything was fine until he made that remark about their mother. This is a long time coming. Mikey was like, you motherfucker.
Just the look in his eyes.
Yeah,
dude. He's about to snap.
But the way, once again, I've been in situations like that when you're just begging somebody to calm down, to get a hold of it. Like, yeah, maybe what he's saying is out of pocket and disrespectful, but this is too far, dude. Like, you guys are gonna ruin everything. Yeah, that was a fucking disaster, dude. And Bob Odenkirk, the intensity that he brought to it.
Yeah, he was.
He's so good at just being a greaseball, you know?
It was just so funny, like, just seeing cameo after cameo, like when they're just going through the house and the camera movements, and it's like, oh, it's Bob Odenkirk. Is that John Mulaney?
Is that Christopher Reeves as Superman?
Yeah.
They had the budget for that? What the fuck?
But yeah, it was shot extremely well too. Like, it very much added to the situation. Just like the quick camera pans and the shakiness of it, like, really felt like you're just in this crazy, insane environment. Quick cuts and like, but not in a way that's lazy, but in a way that added to the intensity.
No, I think it's definitely warranted in a show like this when it is so high octane and there's so much tension and anxiety. So it really adds to it. You know who's a great character, man? Cicero.
He is.
You know, he's just really wholesome businessman. Not ruthless, but he's about making his money, but he's a pushover. He's got a soft spot for his family.
She manipulates him, like talking about like, oh, like, I'm tired because I'm pregnant and everything, and he's like, oh, it's okay, you do whatever you want. Perfect.
And the moment with the chocolate banana almost made me fucking cry, dude.
There were a couple moments where I was like fucking crying. Like,
that was a great
moment. Like,
because it's such a good moment for Richie. Mm-hmm. Like, I can now talk to you as an adult, where I'm giving you something. I'm not here, begging for a job, or I can meet you on an even playing field now.
Seeing Richie be happy and embrace that situation was like definitely tearing up there. There's so many moments because when they do, like what I said before, like with the characters and you're rooting for all of them, when they do succeed, you're just invested and you feel the same emotion they are. And I think that goes both ways. Like, I was devastated when he called his ex-wife and she was pregnant. Like, we're getting married.
Getting married, yeah. It does send a mature message about they're not together anymore, but they could still support each other.
Yeah, but he's fucking dead inside, and he still has his ring on. You're like, fuck, that sucks, dude.
Oh, yeah, no, it really sucks for him.
Yeah.
But even that, I think it showed a level of maturity the way he handled it. It's definitely devastating for him, without a doubt.
That chef lady.
I know, dude, he needs to find that chef lady.
I need to find that chef lady.
Well, you know what? When he's dressing in the suit,
get me a reservation.
He looked kind of cute.
Oh,
I can't imagine
he's
hurting.
Handsome man.
Yeah, he is. Apparently, he bakes a lot of bread in his real life, the actor who plays him.
He was in The Mandalorian for an episode.
Yeah, he was. Ebon Moss Bachrach. So shout out to Bachrach. Well, even the stuff that they did with Ibrahim, where they send him to the cooking school along with Tina, and I enjoyed his reluctance, right? It's always the old grizzly bear who's, I've been doing it my way for a long time. I don't need to learn anything. But I
don't even think it was out of reluctance. I think he just felt out of place, like fish out of water. Like, this is the new way to do it. I'm scared. I don't know, like, looking around, all these young people. I'm older, like, I'm not doing that stuff. I'm sticking to my guns. I'm doing that. I feel like he was just scared to. Yeah, he was the only one I feel like didn't get like a. I mean, Fack kind of too, but you get a sense of him due to some of the flashbacks. And who's the other guy? I always forget his name.
Sweeps.
Yeah, I like him. What's his deal? What emotional trauma do we have to unpack with him?
Everyone doesn't get their own episode, I guess. Somebody's got to be like the Sweeps of the show. Yeah. He's just there, and he got his suit there at the end, and he was part of the gang.
But he was doing well, too.
Yeah. No, he was doing well. Well, he doesn't seem bothered by much. He's more laid back than the other
So this
characters.
Season 3 episode on him.
Yeah.
Just like, I don't know, dead cat.
Reveals that he used to be in NASA. He was an astronaut. All his crewmates died.
Dog ran away.
Oh, my God.
Yeah,
that's
you went
even
darker
worse.
than mine. I went like... Yeah.
Dog ran away. That's a fucking nightmare.
That's a dead cat too. That's bad.
Oh
also.
shit!
Yeah.
Jesus Christ! Did the dog have something to do with it? That's why he ran away.
Man, it's all connected.
60 Minutes. And who's the other? Fack. Yeah, I love Fack, dude. He's so funny, dude. I love how he's their handyman, but he's not a handyman.
Well, that was also frustrating. I'm like, just get
someone
the
who
gas
knows
line
what they're
fixed.
doing.
Just why is it a big deal? Just get someone who can do it and fix it.
Richie's always trying to cut those fucking corners, dude. There are a lot of funny bits when he was trying to steal power from their neighbors. And he's like, we're friends. I'm friends with those guys.
When he gets on the ladder, I fucking lost it. That was so fucking funny.
That was funny, dude. Or even the scene when they're waiting to see if the balloon is going to explode. That was tense. I didn't think it was, but, you're seeing everything that those characters have gone through. And with Fack, his montage was just the balloon blowing up a bunch of times.
Yeah.
We're like, these are the only, important scenes that we have for him. But him and his brother, dude, trying to hustle people out of money so baseball cards are back. Oh, it's good stuff, man. That's the genius of the show, is that all the characters they do spend time with, that we do spend a lot of time with, are great, but the supporting characters just add so much to the edges of the show. They just really bring the world to life. So it's so easy to make them caricatures or forgettable, but when Fack has his little, moment to shine there at the end when he has to go, basically run the room, and he's a little insecure, he's a little unsure of himself, and Richie says, no, you got this, bro. So
I like that, especially tattoos and everything. That's not a guy you would picture being the running the floor and in the dining room of a fancy
but it almost
restaurant.
Fits, right?
And I'm like, yeah, break those stereotypes back.
Yeah.
He's a pioneer, is what I'm saying.
Like if I went to a 3-star Michelin restaurant and the waiter had like a really well put together face tattoo, I'd be like, that's the type of things you can do when you work at big time places. It's like being a rapper in the NBA.
Is that part of the chef code too? You get like some hot boy tattoos?
Yeah, no, I think so.
Will
It's
Poulter,
part of it.
he had them too.
Because
my friend's a chef. He has tattoos all over. I think you just got to get tattoos.
Yeah, there's certain jobs where it's like, I can have tattoos. Might as well get them.
But they're like sick.
Nobody's gonna find. No, they have to be
Will
good.
Poulter usually looks like a nerd. Here he looked cool as hell.
No, he looked like a stud.
And I think pastry chef. If I had to pick, which is doper.
Oh yeah, no, 100%.
I feel like pastry, anyone can cook a rack of lamb.
They say baking, it's harder because it's like a fucking chemistry.
It is. You ever watch Great British Bake Off?
No, I've been wanting to, but I haven't watched it.
Shit's intense.
I once tried to make lemon cookies. Oh god, they were awful. Disgusting.
Like if I make a steak wrong, I feel like it's still pretty good.
Fair.
Because it's just like steak.
Oh no, if you fuck up with baking, it's
it's
over.
It's over.
Just wasted all those eggs.
I can't even write. You think I can pipe a cake?
I know Will Poulter could pipe a cake. Without a doubt. Pipe 2 cakes. Fill you up like a devil dog. I wish one of those characters had like a childhood moment with devil dogs, and they made like a really fancy good devil dog. I feel like devil dogs need to come back in a big way. But the fancy devil dog. Like they're savory cannolis. I don't love the idea of a savory cannoli though. I hate when people change foods around where if I bite into it and be like, ugh, this is not sweet, this is savory.
Yeah.
I've been fooled. Those cannolis his mom made did look like shit though.
It was funny, the advice, when he would reiterate to them that Claire, it's like, oh, Claire just told me I should do this, I gotta own it now and it'll help me get past it. Everyone's like, yeah, it's really healthy, man. It's like, oh, come on, yeah.
Yeah, it took another person to tell you that. Couldn't get there on your own. Well, that's why it was so sad, like I said, with John Bernthal's character, man, when you know what's coming. Especially when it's someone who is so alive and has this big personality. The fact that they could take their own life, it's hard to process something like that. So I think, like I said, I was fine with the way they talked about him and never seeing him in the show, but getting that day, which was maybe rock bottom for him, it did just add so much for, not only his character, but for all the characters that knew him and why, it is this legacy that they can't let go of and that they shouldn't, but that it just continues to dominate their lives. I said in the beginning of the review that I was going to touch more on, or we were going to touch more on Sid and Marcus's relationship, but we totally forgot. But I thought that was, it was heartbreaking to see how they, all the characters are trying to balance their personal lives with also working at the restaurant and trying to figure out if they have room for both. So I thought that romantic tension they had in season 1 was really sweet to see. And then to see them, it was coming more from Sydney, like she wasn't being open with him anymore. That she was seeing him more as a colleague than even a friend, right? It wasn't even so much about the romance. I do think that Marcus has feelings for her and maybe vice versa, but that was heartbreaking to see, that she wouldn't be open with somebody that she had this connection with in season 1 because of all the stresses and the way that it weighs on Marcus too. When that spat in the finale between them gets a little personal, when he's like, are you ignoring me because you're mad at me, right? Yeah. So this is shit that you got to struggle with when you're working in the kitchen. When people grow closer, shit becomes, I guess it becomes better, but it also can become a little messier.
Yeah, but it seems like they were able to kind of work through that towards the end and really get on the same page. It reminds me of when he saw the guy smoking crack in the back.
Oh, Josh?
Yeah, I think I got to fire you.
That was so fucking funny, dude. He's like, you stay here, don't come back inside. Let me go check if I had to fire you or not. And then he's like, oh, yeah, no, you have to fire. That's a good way to bring people back together, right?
Firing someone who's smoking crack in the back.
Right, yeah.
I'm not even mad about the crack part. It's like, you can't just leave during
smoking meth.
Dinner service. Oh, meth.
Yeah.
I'm not even mad about the meth part. It's just like, don't leave during dinner service. This is busy time.
Yeah, I imagine it's one of those things where if they notice maybe you're acting differently while you're working because is he smoking meth? Whatever. But you can't get caught doing it, right? If you need the energy, fine. But just you can't let the bosses see you. But like you said, just being irresponsible. Smoke the crack before.
That's what I'm saying.
Smoke the meth before. But I'm just glad that they kept the romance between, or the romantic tension between Sid and Marcus rather than Sid and Carmi. Because I think there needs to be room for platonic relationships between men and women. To me, it's very reminiscent of Leslie Knope and Ron Swanson, where they just balance each other off pretty well.
I mean, people on your internet will ship anything.
Yeah, I mean, just to sort of put a bow on all of it, I think it was a near perfect season of television. There's some minor nitpicks here and there, but I love season 1. I thought this was an improvement. So this is like as close as a 10 out of 10 you can get for a season of television.
I think it's about as entertaining of a show there is.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not the best if you want to compare it to some of like the top tier television shows, although I do think it deserves to be in that conversation. But we shit on the binge model all the time, and I kind of do wish this was elongated a little bit, but there's something about a show that's so good and entertaining that you just watch next episode after next episode. What time is it? Yeah, I got time for this one.
Yeah, right.
Episode 6 comes an hour. Oh, fuck, it's getting late. I'll finish this one. I'll like, there's just, I don't know. When it's done right and the right show, it's very enjoyable. And then after you finish, you're like, well, now I got to wait an entire year and a half to see this again. So that kind of sucks.
You know what I loved so much about this show too is that, yeah, we love the characters and we love the story, but we're also here for the food. And I think sometimes that can get lost where it's like, okay, now I'm going to show off how good of a writer I am, where we don't have to keep doing the food porn and we could put the cuisine off to the side. It very much remains a love letter to food in so many different ways, and the way that they showcase the different types of food and the different styles, and the idea that it's not necessarily all about talent, but it's about inspiration.
No, I laid in bed after the first night and I was like, can I go to culinary school? Like, is it too late for me? And that's a big thing where like Richie and some other characters like, oh, it's not too late. It's never too late to start. You can always find your purpose. But then I just remembered the kitchen stress scenes and I'm like, fuck that.
No, dude, you really like the people who do it. It's their entire life. And they're fucking nuts.
Every second counts.
All right, guys, that does it for this episode of the Nerd Soup Podcast. I am Beau Oliver, joined here today with Aaron the Nerd Soup Monkey, even though I'm actually Anthony J.Q. Nash doing a Beau Oliver impression. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you for your questions. Thank you for your likes, for your subscriptions. We're going to take a little break here, but the next podcast we drop will be Barbie versus Oppenheimer, the movies, the battles of the summer. And that's going to be a fun double feature, man. Looking forward to that. Oppie in the morning, Barbie at night.
Honestly, I'm very excited. I think that's just going to be a fun day.
Yeah,
when's the last time you just had a day?
I'm trying to think, when was my last day? A day like that at the movies? It's been a long time.
The movies, going to the screen in the city, and Brooklyn. Like, it's going to be a whole, just a day.
It's going to be like the Super Mario Brothers movie, except watching movies instead of fixing toilets. Hopefully they bang. That would be terrible if they both came out and they stunk.
Ooh, this would be a fun idea. Or like a cool movie idea. On our way to the Barbie screening after Oppenheimer, obstacles happen. It's a race against time. How are we going to make it?
That sounds horrible.
There's like a bad guy.
It's going to be sweating in the city. It's going to be hot.
It's a good movie idea. You get robbed. The Uber goes the wrong way. The train breaks down. It's the whole thing. Race against time.
People used to call Oppenheimer Oppie?
Like in real life?
Yeah, that was his real
IRL?
Nickname. I didn't know they had nicknames like that in the 40s. Doesn't feel right.
Yeah. I wish Einstein... What was his nickname? Einie?
Bert.
Bert.
There's Bert. Talking about relativity again.
Bert Einstein, last in his class.
Yeah.
Dummy.
He's not getting that same recognition.
No.
The E equals MC squared. Get the fuck out of here, Bert. You fucking idiot. I was going to post the...
E equals my foot up your ass, nerd.
It will ignite the atmosphere. All right, guys. We'll see you soon.
That's a good name for a band. Ignite the Atmosphere.
Ignite the Atmosphere. That would be fucking tough.
Wow, that was probably our best review yet. Hey guys, Aaron the Nerd Soup Monkey here with a brief shameless plug before we end the video. Do you ever feel like you don't have an adequate amount of nerd soup in your life? Like you're going to bed hungry and yearning for the nonsensical yet entertaining nutrients our podcasts provide? Well, we've come up with the perfect solution. The Nerd Soup Fan Question Podcast, exclusively available to our Patreon supporters. You can sign up now by visiting patreon.com/nerdsoup, and for the price of only $1 per month, you'll receive exclusive access to our weekly podcast where we answer your questions that don't make it to the main show. And while you're there, you can check out the other rewards we offer to our patrons, like stickers, mugs, t-shirts, behind-the-scenes footage, and appearing in the credits at the end of our videos. And that's exactly what we're going to do right now. Roll the names of the nerds who make Nerd Soup possible. The reason why the crypto crash didn't send our lives spiraling down a black hole of no return. Alright, I'll stop talking so you can listen to this jazzy-ass music while checking if Beau spelt your name wrong in the credits.